November 3rd, 1991. Crystal, what's wrong with you lately? You just don't seem like yourself. Sorry, Kelly. I'll try to get out of this state of mind I'm in right now, but I'm not sure how. It was a great honor for the girls at Pilgrimage to call especially to tell us that Mr. Robinson had passed away. And even though I had been expecting it, I just can't seem to shake the awful forlorn feeling that news has left upon me. It is like I've lost my best friend, and I know I have to keep on living, but life just doesn't seem the same to me anymore. Oh, Crystal, snap out of it. Don't be so silly. So you wrote to Mr. Robinson for a few years and visited him a couple of times. It's not like he was a close relative that you lost. Kelly's words hurt Crystal to the very core of her soul, but she knew it was futile to try to help Kelly understand what Mr. Robinson had meant to her. Kelly, not satisfied that Mr. Robinson's death was the only cause of Crystal's melancholy state of mind, probed further. I've noticed David hasn't asked you out lately. Is everything all right between you two? David informed me a few days ago that he was not interested in picking my brain any longer. Kelly did her best to hide her excitement over this bit of news, and instead tried to gently console Crystal concerning this sad state of affairs, for Kelly knew how much Crystal had grown to like David Armstrong. I'm sorry to hear that, Crystal, but you know there are more fish out there in the sea. Yes, but none who seem so interested in what I am interested in. What about Alex King? He doesn't even know I exist. You could change that. How? By writing to him through Pilgrimage. No way, Kelly. You know I feel that it should be the guy who makes the first move. Crystal, be reasonable. How can Alexander King make the first move when he doesn't even know you exist? What harm can it do? Promise me you will write to Pilgrimage asking if they will help get you in contact with him. Okay, I was planning on writing to them and thanking them for the material they sent about Mr. Robinson's funeral, so I'll just add that to my letter. Good. Crystal sat down to write her letter, and she couldn't believe what she had promised her sister she would do. Well, she couldn't go back on her word, but she would be very careful next time as to what she allowed herself to be goaded into doing. She couldn't decide how to address her letter, but then she remembered that Mr. Robinson had always called his staff the girls. So why not use that beloved title since Mr. Robinson never had any children of his own? Here is the letter she wrote. Dear Mr. Robinson's girls, thank you so much for the lovely package you sent me about Mr. Robinson's funeral. It reminded me of my grandmother's funeral. Hers was more of a celebration than a funeral, for we knew she was better off and we would see her again. It is hard for those that are left behind, but when we look at it from the standpoint of our dearly departed, it helps us get over the emptiness we feel because of having lost them. I especially like the poem at the end. He needs to rest, but I need to carry on and continue the work the Lord has for me. I am so glad you are going to carry on and continue the work Mr. Robinson started. I know the Lord will bless you for your efforts. I haven't made much progress with Whitney and David in my mission field at home, but the Lord has given me a few chances to witness which I would like to share. The day I went back to work, Whitney was very happy to see me. It seems that though I was only out 2 working days, it was 2 days too many. I got such a big kick out of the note she wrote to me, which said, Crystal, please don't ever leave me alone with these animals again. They're dangerous. Help, Whitney. Whitney loves her work but hates my job and hates it when I go on vacation. She is only with me in the morning and helps out in another department in the afternoon. Whitney is not a great fan of the male species and does not get along very well with one of the guys in our section. So when she has to spend a full day with him, her nerves get raw. I haven't been able to convince her as yet that it is only his way of keeping life exciting and not to take it to heart. Since I don't ever want to get even with them at times when I could, it drives her crazy. On one of the occasions that I could have said something and didn't, she asked, "Why don't you ever want to get even?" I said, "Because the Bible says, as much as lieth within you, live peaceably with all men." "It's not possible," was her response. I went on to say, "He didn't say it was easy, just worth it." On another occasion, she asked me if I was superstitious. It was on a Friday the 13th, and when I said no, she asked me what I thought of a friend of hers having an accident on Friday the 13th. I simply said it was purely a coincidence and 13th was not a bad number, but that I liked the number myself. She asked me why, and when I said it was the number of the 13th tribe of Israel, she replied back, "Okay, Crystal, I'll take your word for it." She knows me well enough by now to know that all roads of conversation lead to the Bible eventually, and what little I am able to get in is too much for her right now. So that ended that conversation. Another one of my attributes Whitney does not particularly like, though I have found when I get down myself she lets me know she misses it, is my always trying to make her look on the bright side. When I'm down, she gives it back to me, and I appreciate it, for it reminds me I should not fret. I'm believing that when she does get even with me, it is because the Lord is showing her how much easier it is to face life His way, and it is His way of showing me not to give up. Whitney is always letting me know how she feels about the male species, and even though she has a boyfriend now, it has not seemed to help change her mind. One day when she was mad at her boyfriend, I said to her, "Whitney, just be thankful you have someone to be mad at." She growled at me, but knowing I do not have one, she could see my point. She let me know later that she could not wait until I found someone, and the first time I growled, she was going to get me good. Then she said to herself more than to me, "You will probably have a marriage made in heaven, if there is such a thing, and I won't be able to." I said to her with conviction, "There are." This brought her back to earth, and she did not believe that there are marriages in heaven, made in heaven, still. Whitney has not had a chance to read the copy of Janissa I gave to her a while back as yet, and I am hoping that when she does, she will understand that when God has control, all things are possible, even when it comes to relationships like marriage. I am finding it hard these days to find any Christian young men in my area who really have a desire to serve the Lord in all aspects of their life. 2 young men I have dated in the past made me stop trying to look. One said to me, "I don't think believing the truth is worth the hassle," and the other said, "Anything you want to believe is fine with me, I'll go along with it," without giving much thought to what I was saying. I had decided to forget it, and if the Lord wants me married to carry on the remnant, let Him worry about it. I just got sick of the whole business. Then I met David Armstrong through work, and he seemed a kind of man I had never met before, as all he lacked was the Lord. However, his interest in me was short-lived, and once again I'm back where I started. I had thought at first that God could work a miracle for David, and I like he did for Tamar Tiffy, and okay. okayed needed to get saved, etc., before Jeremiah would allow Tamar to marry Okayed. And thankfully, he had been willing to get saved. Since David is not interested in me, even if he gets saved, it would not make any difference, for it takes two to make a relationship. Today, Kelly consoled me with the fact that there are more fish out there and that the Lord knew best. She reminded me of Alexander King and then cajoled me into finding out more about him. When I asked you about Alexander King the first time, I was picturing an elderly man in his 50s, married, etc. And since Mr. Robinson was getting on, I thought he had a new assistant, and I would like to get to know him as I had Mr. Robinson, for I enjoyed his trumpet alarms as I have Mr. Robinson's. Finding out that Mr. King was in his 20s and not married was very surprising. I feel kind of silly, for he probably has a girlfriend or is engaged, and besides, even if he does not, the distance between us is enough to discourage anyone. This argument did not convince Kelly, for she told me I'll never know if I don't write. I don't know how much you know about Mr. King, but if you know that he does not have a girlfriend and would like to meet someone who has beliefs similar to his, please feel free to give him my address. I have always felt that it should be the guy who makes the first move. Otherwise, I would ask for his address and write to him first. Don't be afraid to be the bearer of bad news if he is not interested. I won't deny that I will be looking forward to your reply, but at the same time, I feel bad having to make you a go-between. Thanks for your understanding in this matter, and I trust your judgment. In his service, Crystal Matthews. P.S. I've included some pictures so you will have faces to go with the names of those I write about. Crystal showed her letter to Kelly before mailing it. Kelly was very pleased with herself, for she believed this was the first step toward having her double wedding dream become a reality. Crystal, oblivious to her sister's scheming, left everything in the Lord's hands to work out in his perfect will for her life, for that is only what Crystal wanted, the Lord's perfect will.